Hello guys, welcome back again to this wonderful day and back to my YouTube channel. And today you're going to shift our focus on the political economy. And today you're going to focus specifically on the currency fluctuations. How does it affect politics? How does it relate to politics? I saw a friend post on status about the Kenyan currency depreciation, and he was, I'm sorry maybe to be tribalistic, but that's how he said that Kikuyu politicians are better at managing the country. He did this in relation to the presidents. We had Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, who was the president back then. He said that the Kenyan shillings toward the US dollar was 8 shillings, and during Moi's regime it appreciated almost by almost 50%. Now it appreciated even up from 8 shillings to 80 shillings per dollar. It went on to President Mwai Kibaki. Within his regime, it depreciated at a small rate, and we had now Uhuru, who left the country when it was almost at 120. Now we had Ruto, who during his regime the dollar appreciated up to 165 shillings, which has been the highest recorded appreciation of the dollar against the Kenyan shillings in history. So for the past 4 years, the Kenyan shilling has depreciated against the Kenyan shillings. What are the causes? What are the factors? And how does this affect a country's growth? I did some research from various blogs or websites like The Star, The Daily Nation, also from the Central Bank of Kenya, and these were my findings. The reason as to why Kenyan shillings will depreciate is due to the following factors. Number one, we use the currency that is mostly used to trade is the US dollar. That is what most traders prefer trading, because we have a lot of currencies. Every country has, we have different currencies, but for us to trade we have to have a standard currency. So the US dollar has been used as the standard currency which has been used to trade, and so many countries are affected by the fluctuations in their currencies. Number one, the reason as to why the Kenyan shillings might have weakened from 2020 mostly to early 2024 is due to the following reasons. Number one is due to the Federal Reserve Bank in America that increased the interest rate. That increased from 1.88% the rate of loans associated with the dollar to 3.48. But according to the Daily Nation, Kenyans lose almost 1 billion in terms of paying for dollars for loans, for on dollar dominated loans. It also recorded that it increased from according to this daily, according to Business Daily, it says that the dollar appreciated from 0.25, that was on March, that was specifically that was from 2022 to now March, to 4.5. This also this was the reason as to why the Kenyan shilling depreciated for the first place.
We are all trying to see, because of what the dollar has done to all our economies. The dollar has moved from less than 1% in the US to about 5.2%. With that movement, and I am told it is the steepest rise in interest rates ever since the US established their mechanism. That steep rise has cost us unnecessary trouble externally using our local currencies, and we have a mechanism like the one that has been put up by the APEXIM to settle all that so that we don't have to be hostage to any one currency or the other.
Depletion of foreign exchange reserve import cover. This was likely associated with the President Rigathi Gachagua said that they inherited empty coffers. What were these coffers? Remember, these reserves were used to stabilize the economy when we were in hard economic times. But remember, during the COVID-19, a lot of money was used in terms of subsidy. We saw there were free transaction costs for money, intermobile transfer. The transaction cost for withdrawing money decreased also. The now the reserves were used also to try to mitigate the risk of the COVID-19. So that was according to the Standard and Business Daily. Number one is remember when President Ruto inherited the country, or towards the regime, the end of the regime of Uhuru Kenyatta, what we had specifically were the cost of living became very high. We had even to a 2 kg packet of unga, which was going for around 120 to 130, appreciated or inflated to 230 shillings. Now, this because the year had not produced enough harvest. We did not have abundant harvest, so we had to seek an alternative by going outside the country to go and look for maize, so that we can ensure that our country is safe in terms of food security. So we had to import. And what were we importing using? We were importing using the US dollar. Now the outflow of the US dollar made the Kenyan shillings weak. That's the third reason. The fourth reason was because of the inflation. Mostly inflation due to the above things that I've stated. It increased fuel prices. And once these fuel prices increase, they contribute to inflation of very many things, because oil is used for production of almost everything. Even if it's not produced, it is transported using oil, or in one way or the other, it is directly or indirectly connected. So inflation made the country to be unstable, hence making the currency to depreciate against the dollar. And number three, so the next thing that made the Kenyan shillings to depreciate against, or to weaken against the US dollar, was due to the increase in value of the US dollar. An instance, for us to understand how this works, I'm going to give an instance. In 2010, when Greece borrowed heavily, resulting financial crisis to other European nations due to exceeding the borrowing limit by 4 times, thus weakening the euro and the sterling pound. This made investors to substitute it with the US dollar, thus resulting to increase in US dollar usage, or circulars, thus increasing its value. Now, the Greece government had borrowed a lot, and for those countries that are located around the European, they have that economic zone of theirs, and they mostly use the euros or the sterling pound. Now, because they had borrowed, this affected the whole countries, thus weakening the euro and the sterling pound. Now, investors are very risk averse. That's why they try to do something called diversify their portfolios or securities, to ensure that they gain the maximum returns for their securities or investment. Now, a depreciating shilling or an unstable shilling is going to make an investor to be worried, because if for example, for instance, the Kenyan shilling appreciated from 100 to almost 165. Now this means for any good that you're going to buy for 1 shilling is going to you have to add 65 shillings so that you can gain back what you want. Or now this, if something was bought outside, maybe a machinery or an asset, if it was bought for maybe 20 million and the Kenyan shilling has weakened, now it is going to make this asset useless. So that's why investors at first were afraid of investing in Kenya. According to the Nairobi Security Exchange, they lost 24 billion due to investors getting out of the Kenyan market due to the weakening Kenyan shillings. Now, um, this according because of the what the grace made did, it costed a lot of investors, and they had to switch back to the US dollar. Now that switching and preferring or substituting it to the euros made the US dollar to be more expensive in terms of value. This in turn affected all countries that depended on the US dollar to do transaction. Uh, the final cause of the weakening of the Kenyan shilling is something called bonds. A bond is very, particularly before I go to that point, they say that with the decrease in other countries, US dollar is referred to as a safe haven. Investors are substituting other currencies such as sterling, pounds, and euros with the US dollars. Actually, the dollar performed better than any other currencies. It was not the Kenyan shilling that was only affected. No, we had the Nigerian naira, we have the Japanese yen that depreciated by 40%. We had the Nigerian naira that depreciated by 29%, and we had the euro recording the lowest ever point that it was trading against the US dollar. The final bit that I'm going to look is the point number 6, the cause of why the Kenyan shilling is weakening, and that is something called the bonds. You know, bonds are attractive for countries that are stable. They are known as to be stable because investors that are in the first world countries are attracted by uh, they are attracted by these bonds. It becomes favorable to first world countries or other countries to have bonds because it attracts investors. Now, because developing countries need a lot of loan to sustain themselves or to do a lot of investment, now that one makes these countries to invest more on more or to pay more yields on bonds, and this is highly risky. That's why the Kenyan shillings depreciated in value because of the euro bond. Now, the next thing, from early this year, after January, February, the Kenyan shilling recorded its highest appreciation in value, almost by 30 shillings. Now, what were the causes of the Kenyan shilling appreciating against the dollar? Now, that's the next thing that I was going to look. Number one, we had foreign direct investment. We have increase in dollar inflow in Kenya, resulted to cheap loans and stock. Low inflation due to receipt of significant inflow of the payment of the Eurobond. Now we eliminated that thing that made the Kenyan shilling to depreciate. Now this made the investors to come back in Kenya and invest because now the loans were cheaper, everything was cheaper. The second thing was the decline in dollar demand. After the Eurobond was paid, the Kenyan shilling appreciated. This made those who held or uh, those who had the dollars to sell them out. Now the government was having those inflows of dollars due to the decrease. Also, it was resulted to due in decrease in importation of food products. This because last year 2023 we had we had an increase in harvest. Now we had food in abundance. We had no need to import maize or any other thing from outside. This was very good for us because there was also decrease in the depreciation. Now the money that we could have used to import those food which we could pay with US dollars, we could no longer you use those dollars to pay for them. So this made this reduced the outflow of dollars from the country. Um, the other thing I've discussed already is the Eurobond repayment, which resulted to investors' confidence that led to foreign exchange inflow. We also had low oil prices, because once we had a lot of investors investing in Kenya, so they brought in dollars. There was inflow of dollars. We also had what we call the harvesting that we had this time round.
Let me also, in a very special way, just commend some of our performers. My economic advisor, David Ndi, Mohammed Hassan, Davis Chirchir, and the young man at EPRA. Those four gentlemen have done something phenomenal in our country. They have managed to put together a program that has taken us away from looking for $500 million every month to buy our fuel needs, which was slowly snowballing into a crisis. Today, as a country, we can buy fuel in Kenya shillings, something that many people never thought it would be possible. Again, I want to commend these good people. And let me tell you that from this month of April, all our fuel marketers and all the people in that space, they will be able to buy our products, fuel products, in Kenya shillings. And it will remove pressure on our dollars. In fact, in the next 1 month or so, you will see dollars coming down, the exchange rate coming down in a very phenomenal way. In fact, in my estimation, in the next couple of months, the dollars will come, the exchange rate will come below 120 shillings. Maybe 115, you never know.
Now we are at a better stage where we are exporting. So with that, those are the reasons why the Kenyan shilling strengthened. And finally, we had this particular boss for NCBA say that the Kenyan the current value of Kenya is not its true value. That the true value will show itself later. What were the reasons why he said so? Why does he say that the Kenyan shilling is not at its true value? He said that the stability of the Kenyan shilling will be short-lived. This is according to him, John Kashora. He said that the demand of dollars will get back because this is a valuable asset. Someone say thank you. Let's see each other next time.